The Women of Ill Repute, with your hosts, Wendy Mesley and Maureen Holloway.
Wendy, I know our guest this week does not like the term celebrity chef, and we're going to talk about why in a moment, but the notion of a famous chef is a fairly recent one. I mean, there was Julia Child, who pretty much introduced French cooking to America, and before that, Auguste Escoffier, a lot of other French dudes.
Chef Boyardee, yeah.
Who was a real man, but he was more of a canning expert, I think, than a chef.
But now there are so many. There's Gordon Ramsay, a big fan. I think Michael Smith is a big fan. Alain Ducasse.
Jamie Oliver. Anthony Bourdain. But I think he was more of a writer than he was. I mean, admittedly, he himself said he wasn't the best cook in the world. So
yeah, his books were way better than his recipes, and he's a hero of mine. Another one, Alice Waters.
Actually, not a lot of women.
Yeah,
not still. Yeah, which is ironic because many people still believe a woman's place in the kitchen. But we digress. Our guest this week is indeed a well-known chef, TV host, cookbook author, nutritional activist, inn proprietor, and a Prince Edward Islander, if not by birth, then by adoption.
Yeah, so it's Michael Smith. He's from around New York City. He's worked in restaurants, like big restaurants all over the world. But he relocated to PEI to concentrate on sustainable cooking and healthy living for families and friends, along with his wife Chastity, known as Chaz, I think. Michael runs the Inn at Bay Fortune, and I think there's another one, right? The Inn at Fortune Bridge,
which is booked up for the next 4 months. I checked. And yeah, so that's great. Well, I mean, I don't know, but not for a while. So 5 years ago, Michael was appointed to the Order of Canada, and his latest cookbook is simply called Farmhouse Vegetables. And with no further ado, let us welcome one of Canada's tallest freestanding chefs, Michael Smith. Hello, Michael.
Wow. Thank you. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Maureen. Thank you so much for having me. What a wonderful introduction. Yes, I'm not
and you're sitting down.
Moment, though. Yes, I am. Yes.
Yeah.
I am.
So you are tall, though. I have to get a really stupid question out of the way. Does Chastity have to wear high heels? Because you're so tall.
Oh, my wife, Chaz, she loves wearing high heels. She looks great in high heels. She rocks high heels. I think I am a lifelong excuse for her to wear high heels.
Okay. So a little bit more seriously, the whole celebrity chef thing that Mo was talking about. I mean, you say you don't want to be known as a celebrity chef anymore, but you kind of were one. You were everywhere. You turn on the TV and you'd be just there. And now you're anti-celebrity chef. What happened?
Well,
why is that?
Thank you. I mean, let's perhaps parse the semantics a bit, shall we?
Let's do that.
What am I anti? I mean, I, of course, am blessed. I have a unique perspective on this. I spent more or less 17 years on the inside of the sort of celebrity chef world as a Food Network. I'm so generalizing right now, as a Food Network chef. And for me, throughout that time, I met so many other people that were introduced to me as chefs who flat out simply were not. And, and so to me, the word chef is earned and celebrity chef is pejorative, because long before I saw a TV camera, I was in the trenches. I was working, that was my life, and I was proud and happy for it. And, again, 17 years in the trenches before I saw a camera, and so that was my path. And so I understand very much the word chef, and it means to me, and a lot of people, many of them you mentioned moments ago, the exact use of that word. That's an earned word, and it's not just something that a consumer can throw around because a programmer said, "Oh, chef, you're not a chef unless you earn that word." And so the corollary of that, of course, is to simply be deemed celebrity chef, where I don't know. I'm not so sure you earn that. I don't like that. I'm a chef. Isn't that enough? I live it, breathe it, love it. My mom and dad somehow came together and created a guy who, I just live and breathe to create experiences for other people. My family, my friends, my community, the folks that come to the inn, it's just in me. in so many ways, I just love giving my energy, putting my energy into creating just a wonderful experience for other people, a good day. Pretty straight ahead.
Your move to Prince Edward Island, and I do know something about maritimers. My mother was one, but you're not considered a maritimer unless you're third or fourth generation. So, until your great grandchildren are, if they're still there, then they might be acknowledged. But
Always from away.
always from away.
Islander by choice, though.
Yeah, well, so what propelled you? I mean, you went from a Michelin star, big deal, downtown restaurants in some of the capitals of the world, and decided was this a move, a bit of a rejection for you anyway of that kind of milieu to go out to PEI, which is beautiful, but wasn't really considered the culinary capital of the world.
Well, no. And was it a rejection? Such a big word.
I know.
And for clarity, this was all more or less 30 years ago. I mean, this is my second kick at the can, of course, at the Inn at Bay Fortune. Part of my growing up as a chef was at the Inn. It was my first chef's posting, my head chef's job after Europe, after New York City, after all those temples, after all those big shots, and all of that. Let me just get the time. It would have been 1992 was my first year at the Inn at Bay Fortune, 92. So what a fortunate time to wash up on the shores of this blessed isle of ours, But, flash forward to today, as I struggle to remember the question.
I phrased it. It wasn't a rejection, but I'm going to rephrase it because you've given me the opportunity. Was it an embracing of a different type of eating?
It was, and it was for me. I'm such an idealistic guy. I mean, look, straight up. Let's stipulate. I'm a tree hugger. I eat granola for breakfast. My hair is so long. I do all the things. That's who I am, and I can look back so easily, like so many people, with so much clarity at this stage of my life and pretend like I got it all figured out how it went down all those years ago. But really, I can see that I've always been that kind of idealistic person. And so before school, before Europe, I was drawn to just this expression of food and art. And as I came to understand the stories and the things behind it, I did the traditional things. I went to Europe. I went to the best school and they said at the world at the time, and followed the path that the guy I really looked up to followed, and ultimately discovered in that kitchen in Europe, which so ironically, didn't I notice, closed this week, Le Gavroche in Mayfair, London. It did close this week, and that kitchen was a tough kitchen, and it was that. I can see you guys are frozen on me.
No, we're just wrapped.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering the whole PEI thing. I mean, I
came here on that idealistic path. I came to Prince Edward Island in 1992, that summer, to be the chef at a Sleepy Country Inn. 3 years in back then. The place had just opened and was roasting beef and serving baked ziti at the time with extra whipped cream on dessert, whatever. So it was a big chance for us all, and it more or less, wow, it worked. And so, that was my first time. And then off I went for 17 years, traveling the world, filming multiple shows, multiple seasons. I've lost track of them all, and what a grand adventure. Of course, what access, so wonderful. But at the same time, as I came to understand, so often really the only guy in the room seeing food, everybody else pretty much looking at a prop. And there comes a time when that sort of wears you down, and the authenticity of all that and all of that, sort of brought me and us, Chaz, my wife, to the Inn that second time, which is now 10 years ago. We're 10 years in on the best part of my life, like this is it.
You're no Gordon Ramsay.
I guess not. No, I couldn't take it. It was too much.
What's the word I want to use? the proponents of what you see. It's farm to table, but it's more than that because you can't get
Yeah.
everything on the farm.
Yeah. No.
So what are
Um,
the pillars? I guess that's the word I'm looking
Yeah,
for.
and yes, what are the pillars today? And perhaps not the three pillars on the sign out front 10 years ago, Farm Fire Feast, where we still aspired to so much at the time when we opened this place. Nobody knew what we were doing. We of course didn't know what we were doing. And now, all these years later, what are the pillars, and what have I come to understand? And certainly the guest experience is the pillar of it all. I think we know things are strongest when they stand on three legs. That guest experience, farm, fire, feast, growing all these wonderful vegetables, doing the work, doing the thing, living, breathing the thing. So apt that today, this colossal, brand new, state-of-the-art greenhouse of ours that we just built, we just today pulled the final tunnel over top of it. It's officially warming up. Wow. So farm is such a big deal to us, the doing of it. But as we sit here talking about pillars, skipping to today, I know with that fortunate wisdom we all get when we get to look back, and forward, day after day, it is about the day. It is about figuring out how to express that in business terms. How do we stay focused on the day as a team? How do we have a good day today? Because then and only then can our guests have a good time today. And so how do we build that structure around that core culinary team, all those young people, all these leaders, all this incredible talent around me that's built up over 10 years. I'm not the working chef anymore. I'm not the guy slicing onions anymore. Long past that. And so surrounded by so much excellence, and it means so much to Chaz and I that and this has grown to permeate all of our business through learn practice. How do we do things right and ethically and take good care of ourselves and not ask too much of ourselves and forgive me, and really mean that when we say it and build a reputation for that, earned, and all those things. How do we do that? And that's captivated us from day one. And I know that right there expressed today, our culture of learning, what a colossal miss it would be to have that glorious farm of ours and just, take all that wonderful produce and just bring it to the back door and knock and leave it. It would, our cooks and the way it's also integrated, and our guests and the way they get to experience it in their way. And, it's just such a wonderful farm, our culinary farm. So all of that, of course, I think is just so important. And it's that learning, of course, that's integrated there.
And you've got three boys, you've got three kids. I think you've said that your favorite role is as a dad. So do they like chop onions? Do they do dishes? Do they?
Yeah, do they ever? And actually, Camille, your timing's impeccable. Come say hi. These are two of the most special women in Canada. These are amazing women that are doing some media things. So we're taking a moment.
Well, and Mo chops onions, and I eat onions. So
yes, actually, Wendy's husband does most of the cooking, and I do almost all the cooking at home. But Camille, you like to cook?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you now? Can you go into the kitchen on your own and make something?
Yeah.
What do you make?
Well, I'm more of the breakfast maker.
Yeah, start with breakfast.
I'm very good at breakfast. Cereal and bowl. I'm amazing.
Yeah, cool. Right on, baby. I'll be over soon. We're just having a chat. Thank you. Cool.
Michael, I'm a huge advocate, and I know you are too, of having family meals. Like no matter what else is going on, it's sacred. My boys are grown; they're 25 and 30, but they have no matter what, you sit down together. If it's the only thing you do together all day, you sit down for dinner, and you're a big supporter of that, aren't you? I
am. I've learned so much from that. My mom insisted on that. That was such an elemental part of my life growing up. Two brothers, the three of us, our family coming together daily. I know that is so hardcore in me now, and I know that so much of the success, even the third pillar, if you will, of the inn is simply the shared communal aspect of it. We're not a normal restaurant. We're just not. Folks don't come at whatever time they choose or whatever. Everybody comes at the same time. We all enjoy our time together at the same pace, and sitting towards the end of that experience, we sit down at great big long shared communal tables, and 1+1 = 3. We can cook all day long, but the one thing I know, and I learned it and maybe this is why I was drawn to becoming a chef, the thing that my mom taught me that I know above all else, and again, so hard for a chef to say, but it's not what's on the table in the first place that matters. It's who's there, and building a hospitality experience around that, and understanding the strength of sharing and communal and the power of all that's what we do. That's what I'm proud
you
of.
to see. I mean, so many people are into. I know that you're against bad food or fast food or whatever. You
Big
believe
food.
in sustainability. Big food is your big thing. Oops, you're gone.
He's gone.
We
I
are-
know. We didn't say anything to upset him. Let's see if he comes back. He was there, and then he was just gone. Well, I don't know what else
We've
to
got
do.
17 minutes. It's Camille's fault.
I want to ask him about the
I
bear. Oh,
clicked
he's
something.
back.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
don't touch the equipment.
I did. I touched something. I'm so sorry.
No
Ooh.
worries. No worries. That's why we have post-production. Wendy,
We'll
what
just
were
let
you
you
asking?
focus in again. Yeah, I'll
I'm
just.
sorry.
Just ask again.
So, Michael, I know that you're very anti-fast food, anti-big food, but so many people. I mean, they'd love perhaps to be sustainable like you are. They'd love to grow potatoes. They'd love to have all the plants that you have behind you, but they don't. And everybody seems to be. I don't know. Maybe they're poisoning themselves, or maybe they've just got 2 or 3 jobs, and fast food is so easy. Like, what do you do other
What
than
do you
what
say
you
to
do?
them?
Yeah. So look, I'm 56 years old. I'm practical. Okay. Like, let's be real. Like I'm not anti anything, and so much of what we do at the inn, it really, the inn was an attempt to get up in the morning and do real. That's where I was in my life when things like the inn code for this great big giant project of ours, Chaz and I, 10 years ago. So today, and even then, I would much prefer, and maybe that's part of what I was anti at the time, was that whole part of my life where I couldn't do anything if I wasn't anti something, and I'm not anti anything. I'm over that, So, we just get up in the morning and do our thing, and farm and make damn sure that we don't miss the opportunity to harvest every bit of knowledge and practicality out of that. But as it relates to how the rest of the world eats, well, eat the way you care to. But what I am anti, what I perhaps remain anti, is, but don't you dare do it blindly. Don't do it blindly. Don't pretend for a minute that we're not complicit. And this part of it is even more important to understand now, all these years later. Who knew? We're over this part of our lifetimes where there was some kind of societal disconnect with climate change and global warming, and there was this idea of maybe still kicking around, and we're so over that. And this, of course, leads to the corollary. Well, what really happened? Well, a very significant chunk, of that, a hugely important chunk of that was not transportation, it's cheap food. So let's just be clear with ourselves where all of these corollaries, where all these ripples have landed. That's all I want moving forward. So fast food has its place. I see so many fascinating food systems around me. I see Gabe, my son, 22-year-old guy, gets this steady subscription of pre-made meal kits with fresh ingredients, and they're, when you do the math, it's like it's far cheaper than getting in a car and going to any restaurant, getting takeout of any kind. And he's doing the work himself, and it's fresh. And who am I to, like? He's too busy in his world. He doesn't want to go off to the grocery store, So why not? He lives, So food systems need to evolve. and all of that is just fine. But where I draw the line is when we do it blindly, and when we don't recognize the true ramifications of what's around us. When we do things like expect cheap. Okay, cheap has a payback. Fortunately in Canada, we have a healthcare system to take care of ourselves. They don't have that in the States, and the cheap food thing, mix that in there. That's bad for them.
It's a bad recipe.
It is a bad recipe. Let's not go there anymore today. But for now, in our world, cheap, and then when we get into the restaurant culture, of course, cheap forces certain business practices and certain ways of doing things, et cetera, et cetera. And I call bullshit on that. I call bullshit. So I think we just want to live a virtuous, real life, Chaz and I and our community and the people around us, and not in this big freaking standing on the mount, preaching a damn thing. I'm over that. It's the doing that matters. And that's where there's meat in what I say when I say that it's about our days first. And that is the secret. That's why our business clicks, because we're so darn good at keeping our teams focused daily on the task. And, and that manifests, of course, in all kinds of fascinating business-like ways. Among them, a 4-day work week, absolutely unheard of in our intense culinary industry. But at 4 days, we got fresh human beings, and they're wonderful to be around and share their energy. And, and that's selfish for Chaz and I. Maybe it's selfish, but who cares? Why not? Let's get up tomorrow morning and surround ourselves with bright, shiny, happy people doing something fun. We're not making guns here, So I don't know. It all wraps up into one great, big, tasty recipe somehow.
Well, it does in certain places. Now, I live in Toronto, and Toronto is a restaurant. It's a city of restaurants, and for better or for worse. And as you know, Michelin came to Toronto a couple years ago, along with Bib Gourmand. A lot of people. I mean, there's a whole culture. I don't know how my kids afford it. Certainly my older son, but they go to all these restaurants, and a good portion of their income, because they don't have a house, goes to dining out. And Michelin, all of a sudden becomes, or Bib Gourmand, which is a little more affordable, becomes something that they're very familiar with. What's your feel? You've worked in Michelin restaurants. What's your feeling on this rating system?
It's, of course, we're not. We should have a rating system. Our industry, of course. I'm not going to answer that way. I just I guess I just want everybody to consider what's on the other side of that. What's in the kitchen, what's hidden. I think there's so much wonderful earned excellence at the top of these lists. All of them, of course. Here in Canada, right there in Toronto, there's so much to be celebrated, so much that deserves global recognition, and that consistency of the Michelin rating globally deserves to shine in places like Toronto, 100%. So my, of course, take on that, though, the but, as you say, Wendy, is but please look what's going on in the kitchen, because I call bullshit on the idea that the end justifies the means, that the high-priced experience in the dining room, somehow you abdicate your responsibility as a consumer when you've paid the check and go back out the front door. Be aware of what's going on. And I don't mean to coat an entire industry. I'm being very careful here. There are so many great examples, working examples in this country right now of people just like myself that have figured out authentic working environments. All right, this is not some big doom and gloom thing. But it's just that when you put pressure for excellence on any devotion, practice, or pursuit, and any end of the spectrum in this world of ours as human beings, you know what happens. It does bring out perhaps bad practices, and in that Slavish devotion to excellence, we lose track of ourselves as humans. I myself quoted the legendary Charlie Trotter for many years. I found it so interesting. He said it, Charlie Trotter, by relentlessly pursuing perfection, we cannot help but achieve a high level of excellence. And I apprenticed in a Michelin 3-star restaurant, the same one that Gordon Ramsay apprenticed in several years before me. And, look where it took him. So I've seen the worst of this, and I choose not to be a part of that. And I call bullshit on those who do choose that, and so I just ask that we all look around, vote with our dollars, call it that perhaps, and be aware and be sure that we ask the ratings folks out there to be ecumenical and diverse and to see these things. And more or less, that has been a part of the story. Michelin has had to wipe a lot of egg off their face over the last few years around the world to play catch up. And some of the venerable rating institutions of the world, even the James Beard House, has had to play a little catch up. So, maybe wouldn't it be nice to see an award, for the most, I don't know, for the best work experience. I don't know, somebody come up with a better name, but
like
but
an,
you know what I mean.
internal, like best place to work. From
And
from
so
the actual
much
staff.
of this. So much of this conversation is held in one thing and one thing alone, and it is tips. It is
Yeah,
tips.
we were going to ask you
We're
about
just
that.
heading straight there.
I know
Yeah,
you're not
it is
anti
tips.
anything, but you're
Now, not tips in every segment of our industry. There is a lot of our industry where I can't speak to it from direct practice, but I know at the higher end of the industry like mine, where we have so many options, it's ridiculousness. There really shouldn't be tips on any restaurant in Canada's 100 Best or whatever. I mean, I just don't see why we would do business that way anymore, because in doing so, we're suggesting something else. We're not part of that level of the industry. If we have any aspirations to fine dining or destination dining or Michelin stars or anything of the sort, we're in a different level with different ethics and morals and a different obligation to do things right. So at that level, no. But as we step down,
how do you do it? Because
You charge more.
we know
we
people
charge
who
more.
have,
It's
yeah,
just being
so you charge more
transparent.
for food.
And
We
no
charge
hidden
more.
cost. This is what it
We
is.
charge more. No hidden costs. We build a proper business like any other. We run a $5 million business. So like any other industry in the country, shouldn't we run it with a strong, strong metrics and practices and this and that? and so much of that tip culture is full of ambiguity and gray and cheating, and taking advantage and this and that. We choose not to do business that way at all. So having said that, we get that there is a part of the industry where that seems necessary. And all I can say there is that industry just needs to continue to do its best to step up and fix these practices, and I think we as consumers should legitimately expect the restaurants to have some kind of fair trade brand. And please let go of this idea that food is cheap and stop belly aching when the prices of it go up, because look around, and all these so-called Karens and all of that baloney, come on, let it go. It just doesn't work that way. And there we are, and so in our world, we charge transparently, and it affords us and it allows us to take care of this colossal team of ours, every single one of them with the exact same benefits that Camille has, things like that, et cetera, and why shouldn't it?
Shouldn't it?
We've got to wrap in just a sec, but I know Maureen really wants to ask you about. Here she comes.
Yeah, it's a little frivolous, but and I don't know when this is going to air, but I watched the Emmys last night, and The Bear cleaned up. Fantastic actors, and Maddie Matheson, who's
gosh.
Who's a Toronto
Howard in
guy.
New Brunswick.
Yeah, out of New Brunswick. So, and he's a producer on the show, and he was hilarious in his acceptance speech. Swore he could never imagine himself being there. I've watched The Bear, as they say, religiously, and it's just the most. It just makes the tension watching this, and I don't know whether you're a fan or whether you watched it or not. But does it ring a bell with you? Is this a familiar scenario?
Does it ever?
Yeah.
Does it ever? The Bear's the best ever for TV accurate depiction of our true industry here. That's an obvious and active conversation for chefs. We love to have a beer and talk about what movie got it right. Easy to talk about all the ones that got it wrong. Screw that. But yeah, Ratatouille,
Yeah.
always on that list.
Rat.
Even Jon Favreau's chef was
Yeah,
mixed.
yeah,
But
yeah.
The Bear got it right. And part of why I think they got it right, because the Bear is in a similar position, if you will, to high-end restaurants. They need to depict positive. Okay, and they figured out a way of doing it in a respectful way, in a way that portrays a culture moving forward. One of my favorite lines, it's Johnny. I guess the big brother. He says, "I wear suits now."
Yeah,
You
that's cousin. When he
Cousin,
took over as
right.
maitre
I said
d', his
Johnny.
cousin, he
Cousin.
goes, "Yeah, I wear suits now."
I wear suits now. Like, that shows growth. That shows progress. And there's where, isn't that the thing? There must be something. There must be some burning ember deep at the heart of this thing that's got all of us for all these years wanting it, and there it is. And that's so authentic. And the bear, of course, the words, the bear, in the context of that show refers to the dream.
Yeah.
And every one of us, the real chefs, not the celebrity chefs, they don't have this dream, to loop us back to the beginning. Those of us, that really did the thing, we all had that dream. Service is about to start. We can all tell you an elaborate tale, and we're not ready. We're not ready. Service is about to begin. And that's the bear. That's the story. That's the mythical bear and his story. So it's so real. It triggered me like nothing, no media I have ever consumed before. I have had to turn off twice the finale, step outside of the room. It was so powerful.
Wow.
So big fan of it. Big fan that the bear in season 2 and beyond is showing us a progression, taking us deeper into how positive things can be. Let them do the negative things, whatever. But overall, I think they got our back. They're going to do well. So, yeah, big fan.
And of course, it's at the end of the day, it's about family.
Yeah.
And love and sustainability, really. Because it's about making something last. For the family. It's lovely.
Each and every one of us, both of you, all of us, just in our own ways, just doing our best today, wherever it is that we've washed up, looking around, taking what we have. I'm looking out at the backyard. That's what we do. And, I hope you hear more or less the same tale with all of your other guests.
We've loved talking to you. So, Michael, thank you. And a few technical problems here and there, but we've connected. So it's wonderful, and it's lovely to hear you talk about all the things mostly that you love, but a couple that you have doubts about.
We're going to come see you. You're booked
Please
up
do.
for the next 4 months, but we're coming to see you for sure.
Yeah,
At
please
least I
do.
am.
And please, if you do, let us know. We would be honored to help. We can be the kind of place that's tough to come to, but we would easily welcome you and all your friends. Just let us know. Coordinate with Jennifer. I think you already have. We'd love to see you. I think you'd really enjoy your time with us. Pretty special. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you.
Over now, Prince Edward Island.
Okay, yeah. Bye.
I'm hungry. And yet we didn't talk about food. We talked about the idea of food and the idea of preparing it and serving it and all that kind of thing. But we actually never. I mean, we should mention that his new book is Farmhouse Vegetables, which is full of fantastic, simple, delicious recipes. So there you go.
Yeah, it's funny because he's really into food. Like, I'm a chef and I've trained and I know about food and I'm going to make people happy with food, but he's also really not into food at all. It's all about the experience. It's all about family. It's all about love. But I found it really interesting that he's not preaching anymore, because reading a couple of things just to prepare for the interview with him, the chat with him, I thought he was kind of preachy, but he's, he likes to talk, but he's not very preachy. He's kind of
not anymore. Maybe he doesn't have to.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not kidding. They are booked up months in advance. So, you have to go to PEI to go there, but I've never been to Prince Edward Island. I've been close, but I never, got that far. So
I've been there probably more as a political reporter than anything else, but so I never really got to know it. And I think there's now like 12 people there. There used to be 7. There's now.
Now there's 12. And there's more than potatoes on PEI, obviously. So that's a bucket list destination. That was Chef Michael Smith. I like him.
Yeah, but I think you really like that he liked the bear. I would have been really
disappointed if he hadn't.
When I
You
was in
know?
New York and I wanted to go, oh, hey, you're a celebrity. And I thought, no, you
Yeah.
don't do that. You just stare from a distance.
No, it's for reals. All right, gonna go make myself a snack.
Women of Ill Repute was written and produced by Maureen Holloway and Wendy Mesley, with the help from the team at the Sound Off Media Company and producer Yet Belgraver.